Have you ever asked someone, "Do you want to have coffee sometime?" And they answered, "Maybe." You went home thinking, "Okay, there's still a chance." So you waited. A few days passed, then a week passed, and somehow that coffee never happened. Today, I have a slightly uncomfortable question for you. What if that maybe was actually a no?
That happens more often than many English learners realize, and this is why learning a language is not only about learning dictionary meanings. The dictionary tells you what a word can mean. Real conversations teach you what a person is trying to do with that word. Sometimes maybe expresses real uncertainty, but sometimes it is a soft door closing.
Hi everyone, welcome back to SomSee Studio. I'm Alice, and as usual, I will be asking the questions that many English learners are quietly thinking, and I already have one. If maybe means maybe, why don't people just say no when they mean no?
I'm David, and that question is exactly where today's conversation begins. We are going to look at why people soften their language, how you can recognize a hidden no, and most importantly, how you can respond without feeling confused or embarrassed. You do not need advanced vocabulary for this. You need something more useful: context.
Let's start with the basic meaning. If I open a dictionary, maybe means something like possibly or perhaps. So if I say, maybe it will rain tomorrow, I really mean that I am not sure. That seems simple.
Exactly. In a sentence like, maybe it will rain tomorrow, there's usually no hidden social message. The speaker is talking about uncertainty. Rain might come or it might not. That is the clean dictionary meaning. The problem begins when we use the same word between people, especially when someone is making an invitation, a request, or a suggestion.
So maybe behaves differently depending on whether we are talking about facts or relationships?
That's a very useful way to think about it. Compare these two sentences. Maybe the store closes at 9. Maybe we can have dinner sometime. The first sentence is mainly about information. The second sentence is also about the relationship between two people. Now, the speaker may be managing expectations, avoiding pressure, or trying not to hurt the other person's feelings.
Let's say my friend asks, "Are you free on Saturday?" And I really don't know because I might have to work. Can I say, "Maybe I need to check my schedule. I'll text you tonight"?
Yes, and notice something important. You did not stop at maybe. You gave a reason and you gave a next step. Maybe, I need to check my schedule. I'll text you tonight. That sounds like real uncertainty. There is still movement in the conversation. You are basically saying, I don't know yet, but I am going to find out.
Now, imagine I say, "Would you like to have dinner this weekend?" And the other person says, "Maybe sometime." Nothing else. No date, no reason, no suggestion. That already feels different.
Exactly. The words are similar, but the conversation has no forward movement. Maybe sometime sounds open on the surface, but it gives you nothing to act on. There is no Saturday, no next week, no I'll let you know tomorrow. The door is technically not locked, but nobody is inviting you inside.
I like that idea. Movement. So instead of asking, "What does maybe mean?" I should ask, "Where is this conversation going?"
Yes, that question will help you far more than translating every word. Real interest usually creates some kind of movement. A person suggests another time, asks a question, explains a problem, or returns to the topic later. A polite no often does the opposite. It slows the conversation down and lets the topic quietly disappear.
But
Why do people make it so complicated? If I don't want to do something, wouldn't it be clearer to just say, no, I don't want to?
Clearer, yes. Kinder, not always. Human conversation is not only about transferring information efficiently, we also protect relationships. Imagine a coworker says, "Do you want to come to my birthday dinner?" You may not want to go, but saying, "No, I don't want to spend my evening with you," would be unnecessarily harsh. So people often soften the message.
So maybe can act like a cushion?
Exactly. Think of the real message as a hard object. Sometimes people wrap that object in something soft before giving it to you. Maybe. We'll see. I'll think about it. That might be difficult. These phrases can all be completely sincere, but they can also reduce the force of a negative answer.
Some learners might hear this and think, then people are being dishonest. They say maybe, but they secretly mean no.
Sometimes that happens, of course, but I would not automatically call it dishonesty. Often, both people understand the social purpose. One person avoids giving a painful, direct rejection, and the other person understands the signal. The important thing is that native speakers are usually not processing only the literal sentence. They are listening to the whole situation.
Let's make this very practical. I say, would you like to get coffee after work? Person A says, maybe, I have a meeting, but I'll text you when it finishes. Person B says, maybe sometime. Person C says, maybe we'll see. These all contain maybe, but they don't feel equally positive.
Right. Person A gives you a condition and a next action. That sounds fairly genuine. Person B gives you no path forward. That often sounds like a soft no. Person C depends heavily on tone and context, but "will see" often reduces commitment. The important information is not the word maybe itself, it is everything around it.
What if someone rejects my invitation but suggests a different day? For example, I can't Friday, but maybe Sunday.
That is very different. When someone cannot accept your exact plan but creates another plan, that usually shows interest. I can't Friday, but how about Sunday? I have to work tonight, but I'm free next week. The original answer is negative, but the relationship is moving forward. This is why actions after the sentence matter so much.
You mentioned several phrases besides maybe. Can we look at the whole family of soft no expressions?
Absolutely. And remember, none of these phrases always means no. Context decides. But you should become sensitive to phrases such as "we'll see," "I'll think about it," "maybe another time." That could be difficult, "I'm not sure," and "let me get back to you." The words sound open, but sometimes they're designed to avoid a direct commitment.
Let's start with "we'll see." Parents use that one a lot, don't they? A child asks, "Can we get ice cream later?" And the parent says, "We'll see." As a child, I always thought that meant yes was still possible.
And technically it is, but children quickly learn that "we'll see" can mean "please stop asking me right now." Adults use it too. It can mean genuine uncertainty, but it can also delay a decision without promising anything. Again, watch what happens later. Does the person return to the question, or does the idea disappear forever?
What about "I'll think about it"? That sounds more serious.
It can be serious. If your manager says, "That's an interesting proposal, I'll think about it and give you an answer on Thursday," that sounds meaningful. There is a specific time for the answer. But if someone says, "I'll think about it," then changes the subject and never mentions it again, The phrase may simply be a polite exit.
I find that might be difficult, especially confusing. As an English learner, I hear might, so I think difficult but possible.
And sometimes that is exactly what it means. But in professional situations, especially when people are trying to be diplomatic, that might be difficult can mean, I do not think we can do that. The grammar expresses possibility. The social message can be much stronger. You need to listen to the environment, the relationship, and what comes next.
What about the classic phrase, maybe another time?
This is a good one because it can sit right on the border. If someone says, I'm exhausted tonight, maybe another time. Are you free Thursday? Then another time is real. If they say, oh, maybe another time, smile and leave without suggesting anything, it often means, thank you, but I'm not interested. That real meaning is not written in the dictionary, but it is present in the situation.
And let me get back to you?
That phrase is common in work conversations. It literally means, I need some time, and I will contact you later. Good professional communication often includes a time frame. Let me get back to you by tomorrow afternoon. Without any follow-up, however, the phrase can become a way to postpone an uncomfortable answer. So once again, language plus behavior gives you the real message.
We've talked a lot about the words after maybe, but what about tone? Can the exact same sentence mean two different things?
Absolutely. Imagine someone says, maybe. Their voice goes up, they smile, and they immediately ask, what time? That sounds open and interested. Now imagine a long pause. Maybe. Then they look away and change the subject. Same dictionary word, very different communication. Tone, timing, facial expression, and follow-up all carry meaning.
Now we reach the part I really care about. If I think someone's maybe is actually a no, what should I do? Should I ask, do you actually mean no?
Usually, no. That can put unnecessary pressure on the other person. A better response is to leave space. You can say, sure, no problem, or okay, let me know if you're interested. Then stop pushing. If the person genuinely wants to continue, they now have room to come back.
So, if I invite someone once and they give me a vague maybe, I shouldn't keep asking every 2 days.
Exactly. Think of an invitation as opening a door, not pulling someone through it. You can make the opportunity clear, then allow the other person to choose. If they are interested, they can step toward you too. This is not only good English, it is good communication.
Let's practice. I say, do you want to join us for dinner on Friday? You answer, maybe, I'm not sure yet. What should I say?
A natural answer could be, no worries, just let me know. Simple, friendly, and pressure-free. You are not demanding a decision. You are also not sitting there trying to decode every tiny sound in the person's voice. You have handed the next step to them.
But sometimes we actually need an answer. For example, if I'm booking a restaurant, I can't accept maybe forever.
Correct. Then you can make the practical need clear without becoming aggressive. You might say, no problem, I just need to know by Wednesday because I have to make the reservation. That sentence is very useful. You respect the person's uncertainty, but you also create a reasonable boundary. Good communication is not endlessly vague.
Let's try a work example. My manager says, can you finish this by tomorrow? I don't think I can. Should I say, maybe?
Be careful there. At work, vague maybes can create problems if the other person thinks you are accepting the task. It is often better to explain the situation clearly. You could say, "Tomorrow might be difficult. I can definitely have it ready by Thursday." Now you are still polite, but you are giving useful information and an alternative.
So sometimes I also need to use this kind of soft language myself.
Of course, understanding indirect language is not only about protecting yourself from confusion, it helps you communicate naturally too. Suppose someone asks you to attend an event, but you genuinely do not want to go. You could say, "Thanks for inviting me, but I don't think I can make it." That is clear enough to function as a no, but it does not sound cold.
I notice you didn't use maybe there.
Right. You do not have to be vague to be polite. This is important. Some learners discover indirect English and begin hiding every answer behind maybe. But natural communication usually balances two things: clarity and kindness. If your answer is already decided, sometimes a gentle no is better than a false maybe.
This feels connected to a bigger English learning problem. We often hear one word and immediately translate it. Maybe equals perhaps. Done. But then the real conversation doesn't make sense.
Exactly. Translation gives you a starting point, but it cannot always give you the final meaning. Instead of asking only, "What does this word mean in my language?" start asking, "What is this person doing with this sentence? Are they inviting, refusing, delaying, showing interest, reducing pressure?" That is how you begin to think inside the conversation.
So meaning is larger than vocabulary.
Much larger. Imagine I say, "That's interesting." Depending on my voice, it can mean genuine excitement, mild surprise, polite disagreement, or even, "I have no idea what to say." The sentence does not change. The situation changes. This is why advanced listening is not simply knowing more words. It is becoming sensitive to patterns.
But how do learners build that sensitivity? Can we memorize a chart that says maybe sometime equals 70% no?
I would not recommend that. Human communication is too flexible for a mathematical chart. The better method is repeated exposure. Listen to many conversations. Notice what people say before and after maybe. Notice whether plans actually happen. Over time, your brain begins to recognize the pattern without translating every piece.
So it's similar to recognizing a face. I don't calculate the distance between someone's eyes and nose. I just see the person and know who they are.
That's a perfect comparison. Fluent listeners do not consciously run a grammar analysis every time they hear maybe. They recognize the shape of the situation: invitation, hesitation, vague answer, no alternative, topic change. The entire pattern says more than the individual word. That pattern recognition comes from familiarity.
Can you give us a simple system we can remember the next time we hear maybe?
Use 3 questions. First, is there a reason? Second, is there a next step? Third, does the person return to the topic later? If someone says, "Maybe I need to check with my family, I'll message you tonight," you have a reason and a next step. That may be a real maybe. If you get only "maybe sometime" with nothing else, treat it lightly and give the person space.
Let's do a few quick situations. I'll give you an answer, and our listeners can decide whether it sounds like a real maybe or a possible soft no. First one. Would you like to go hiking Saturday? Maybe. The weather looks bad. If it rains, how about Sunday instead?
That sounds genuinely interested. The person gives a reason and immediately suggests Sunday. Even though they cannot promise Saturday, the conversation keeps moving toward meeting. This is a strong example of why you should not become afraid of the word maybe itself.
Second situation, we should have lunch sometime. Yeah, maybe sometime. Then the person immediately says, anyway, how is your new job?
That could easily be a polite no. The hesitation, the vague timing, and especially the immediate subject change are useful signals. You do not need to feel rejected or analyze it for 3 days. Just accept the answer gracefully and let the conversation continue.
Third situation, can you come to the meeting tomorrow morning? Maybe. I have a doctor's appointment. Let me check the time and I'll message you in an hour.
That is a real uncertainty. There is a specific conflict, and there is a clear promise to check and respond. Notice how much easier this becomes when you stop staring at the word maybe and start looking at the structure around it.
Fourth situation. Would you like to go on another date? I had a nice time. Maybe. I'm pretty busy these days. And then there is no message for 2 weeks.
In that situation, the behavior after the conversation becomes very important. The maybe may have been intended as a gentle rejection, and this teaches us another valuable lesson. Do not judge meaning only at the exact second a sentence is spoken. Sometimes later behavior completes the sentence.
I think this can be emotionally difficult for learners. When you are already nervous speaking English, you want the words to be stable. You want yes to mean yes, no to mean no, and maybe to sit exactly in the middle.
I understand that feeling. But becoming comfortable with ambiguity is part of becoming comfortable in another language. You do not need perfect certainty in every conversation. Even native speakers sometimes misunderstand each other. Your goal is not to become a human lie detector. Your goal is to notice enough context to respond naturally.
That's probably important because after today's episode, someone might start thinking, oh no, every maybe is secretly a rejection.
Please don't do that. That would create a new problem. Maybe still means maybe very often. If your friend says, maybe I'll order pizza tonight, there is probably no hidden emotional drama. And if someone says, maybe I can come, I'll know after work, take the sentence normally. Look for patterns, not conspiracies.
So the goal is not to memorize hidden meanings. It's to become more comfortable reading the whole conversation.
Exactly. And that skill grows slowly. One podcast episode will not suddenly make every indirect sentence obvious, but from today you will probably start noticing things you ignored before. You will hear the pause before maybe. You will notice whether another date is suggested. You will hear when someone moves the conversation forward and when they quietly close it.
It's interesting that one tiny word teaches us something much bigger about English. At the beginning, I thought this episode was simply about the word maybe, but now it feels like it's really about listening to people rather than listening only to vocabulary.
That's exactly the lesson. Words are important, but words live inside relationships, situations, voices, and actions. A dictionary can tell you that maybe expresses possibility. Only experience can teach you when that possibility is real, when it is polite distance, and when you simply need to wait and see.
Before we finish, let's repeat David's 3 questions. When you hear a vague maybe, ask yourself, is there a reason? Is there a next step? And does the person return to the topic later?
I think those 3 questions are much more useful than trying to calculate exactly how positive the word sounds.
Yes, and remember to use them gently. You are not investigating the other person. You are simply listening more intelligently. If there is clear movement, follow it. If there is no movement, give the person space. That one habit will make many English conversations easier.
Maybe one day I will finally stop translating every English sentence in my head.
Maybe?
Wait, was that a real maybe or a soft no?
That one was definitely a real maybe. And here is a small practice for this week. Whenever you hear the word maybe in a movie, podcast, meeting, or real conversation, do not translate it immediately. Pause for 1 second and look at the situation. Ask yourself what the speaker is trying to do.
So, instead of memorizing today's episode as information, we turn it into a listening habit.
Exactly. Information disappears. Habits stay. You may forget some of the examples we talked about today. That's fine. But if you build the habit of listening for context, your English will keep changing long after this episode ends. You will stop hearing isolated words and start hearing intentions.
And the next time someone says, maybe sometime, I won't immediately write a 10-page emotional report about what they really meant.
That's already excellent progress.
Thank you for spending this time with us at SomSee Studio. Keep listening, keep noticing, and don't worry if every sentence is not perfectly clear yet. Understanding grows little by little.
And remember, simple English does not mean simple thinking. Listen to the words, but also listen to the space around the words. We'll see you in the next episode.
Maybe?
Yes, Alice, definitely.